All right, y'all. So I get this question a lot. When do you fish a chatterbait versus a spinnerbait? Now, in recent years, the chatterbait has kind of outcompeted the spinnerbait. The spinnerbait's been around forever, and when the chatterbait came along in the early 2000s, it all but replaced it over the years. But for the most part, you can use these almost interchangeably, but they have a lot of key differences where one is better than the other. For example, fishing around vegetation, absolutely the chatterbait takes the cake. The chatterbait is something that you want to throw around vegetation, not so much that snot grass or that algae type stuff, but more around actual weed beds and isolated clumps of weeds and things like that, coontail, hydrilla, that kind of stuff. These do really, really well in that. You avoid wood cover with the chatterbait because they always hang. There are some that come with weed guards across the top that kind of help with that, but for the most part, it's not nearly as weedless as your average spinnerbait is going to be when you're fishing around wood. The reason for that is because they always hang right there in the bend of the hook, or they will roll over and hang in the bend of the hook there. So normally I'm fishing a spinnerbait when I'm fishing around wood versus grass. A spinnerbait is also slightly more versatile than your average chatterbait. You can fish these from top to bottom more effectively, anywhere from literally at the surface, just barely an inch or two under the surface, waking a spinnerbait across the top, all the way down to the bottom in 30 foot of water, just barely dragging it across just fast enough to where the blades are still turned. This thing is a little bit more versatile than your average chatterbait. You can fish a chatterbait down on the bottom as well. I like to use that when they're feeding on crayfish. That's something a lot of people don't do. Put a crayfish trailer on the back of a heavy chatterbait, and you can just kind of drag it across the bottom like a jig. It does a good job down there. Also, fishing around docks and things like that, you can skip cast a chatterbait. That's something you can't do with a spinnerbait. I also like to fish a spinnerbait more times on shad fisheries and herring fisheries. I'll use a spinnerbait more times than I will a chatterbait. But when I'm fishing in places where there are a lot of bluegills or a lot of tilapia and other thick-bodied, tall-profile bait fish, I will pick up a chatterbait more times than not. If bait fish happen to be very small, I may pick up a spinnerbait. Reason being, I can get a spinnerbait that has little blades. These small blades imitate those young of the year shad and juvenile panfish and little perch and things a little bit better than my average chatterbait will. Another reason why I may pick a spinnerbait over a chatterbait sometimes is when I'm fishing around things like rock, where you're fishing your chatterbait, you're just down there banging the bottom and getting that head down in there and it's getting all tore up. You can dull, damage the blade or damage the point of the hook, and it'll get kind of dulled out on you. Your spinnerbait doesn't have those problems. It just rides up and over stuff. So that's